Okay, so I've opened a new document, and the first thing I'm going to do, other than picking a new template, which is woodworking millimeters like we've done on every project we've done so far, is File, Save, and again, I'm saving to the desktop, okay? I'm going to name this my first name, last name, dash, animal, okay? I've already got one in here, so I'm going to just overwrite it right now. But don't you do that. You should have a new document that you're doing, okay? This is not something that we're turning in. This is something that you're practicing, but I want you to save it. That way, if you don't finish it today, you have a chance to go back and play around with it. Okay? So the first thing we want to do is we're going to create a rectangle. Okay? You did this for your house. Pretty simple. Grab your push-pull tool and pull up. Now I want you to take your orbit tool and you're going to rotate because I want you to see around it. It looks like a pretty decent size, okay? The next thing you need are legs. If you noticed on the screen, on the front board, you'll see that it has 4 legs. Those need to go on the bottom side of the animal. So we're gonna go ahead and look on the bottom side here, okay? If you grab your rectangle tool, and you'll notice that I'm on the bottom side, and you'll see how a little thing comes up that says on face. What that does is it connects it to the body. So I'm going to draw a rectangle for one of his legs, okay? Now that I've done that, I'm going to take my push-pull tool and see how it's highlighted? I'm going to pull downward, and that makes a leg. Now I'm going to take my orbit tool so I can see what this looks like, just for the one leg. I don't want to get carried away quite yet. I want to make sure that's what I want for his leg, okay? So now a little trick for you is if I turn it this way, okay, because I want to make sure I'm grabbing just the leg. If you take the select tool and grab the entire leg, you have to select around it to select it, okay? Take your orbit tool, make sure you haven't selected anything else, okay? I could tell I haven't, all right? Now, if I take my move tool and come over here to a point where it says endpoint and hold the control key down, I can drag and make another one. You'll see a red axis line come over, and it's going to exactly put it in proportion to the other leg. I'm going to do this for the other 2 legs. Okay? Just keep moving them over. Pretty simple. Now if I take my orbit tool, I see that I've got 4 legs. Okay? Simple, simple. Now we need to move on to the head. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. I'm going to draw on the face of the front of the body. You see how I moved the orbit tool to where I'm at the front of the body now. I need to be careful not to grab other items. So make sure that nothing else is selected. When you see something in blue, that means it's selected. So if I take my selection tool and click in the gray area, it deselects for me. Take my orbit tool, and I want to make sure I'm looking at this straight on the front to where I can't see the top or the bottom. See how I see the top? Let's make sure I don't, okay? So I grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle on the front. All right? So now that I've done that, I'm going to take my orbit tool again and just double check. But I'm going to take my push-pull tool, and I'm going to pull. That seems like too much. So let's come back a little bit, and then take my orbit tool again and take a look. Little much. So if I do Control-Z, that'll undo it. Now if I take my orbit tool again, I'm just going to pull out a little bit. Okay? That's a much better size. Now I need to move that. So let's take the orbit tool again, and I'm going to, again, I want to look straight on, because you'll see what will happen if I do this and then decide to select it like we did on the bottom. If I take my orbit tool now, and I didn't do it here, but sometimes what it'll do is it'll grab a leg, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take my move tool now, and I'm going to move it upward. Pretty easy. Okay, so now my head's in a better spot. I can actually move it up just a little bit more. Now you have to remember, once you've orbited it, it's going to decide which way it wants to go. okay, depending on which plane it's on. And right now it wants to go left and right. So let's keep orbiting to see if I can get this to move upward. And somehow I've grabbed a piece I didn't want to grab. So let's undo that. I'm going to undo my move a few times. Apparently it didn't work for me. Get that move going. And you'll see that a lot of times you'll do this. You'll go a little too far. Okay, so now I'm going to move upward. So I went to my original and put it right there, okay? Oh, remember to click and then deselect it, because otherwise it's going to keep moving, okay? That looks pretty good to me. Now I want to go ahead and make some eyes. Now remember what we just did with the legs? Let's go ahead and do that with the eyes. So I'm on the face and I've created one eye. The next thing I'm going to do, my push-pull tool, is pull something out. But I want to take a look at it, make sure it's not too big. That one looks pretty good. Take my select tool and I'm going to grab it again. I'm going to take my orbit tool, take a look around, not too bad. And then I'm going to take this tool again with my move tool with my endpoint and I'm going to pull over. Okay? I'm going to do it one more time for that nose. And now my push-pull tool to bring that out a little bit further. Not too bad, right? Okay, remember to save. All right, and I want you guys to give it a try. Let me know if it works for you. Raise your hand if you have questions or ask your elbow partner. A lot of you have this down and you're doing really good. So I want to see if you guys can help each other. Have a good time.